there she is. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. I know there's a lot going on. It's been a wild time right now. So thanks for taking the time to do this on your birthday. That's so awesome.
I'm very committed.
Yeah. So, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Christina. Happy birthday to you. So, happy birthday. Yes. That's a nice birthday celebration. This is my daughter, Rhiannon.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
She's rushing off to get back to her work in there, but we just wanted to wish you a happy birthday together.
Kind. Oh my gosh.
No, all good. All good. Just had to throw that in there because it's definitely good that you're doing this on your birthday, and great to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited.
Well, awesome. My name's Adam Penna. I'm here to continue the conversation in 3D printing and additive manufacturing. Today, wonderful to have Christina Perla here from Makelab up in New York City. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. I think there were 2 interviews with the other board directors so far that have come out. I think Dana and Kristen.
Yes, correct. Yeah. We've just had 2 so far. We had Kristen on about 2 months ago. So it's each one of the board of directors are going to be on leading up to, of course, the TIPE conference coming up in January. So excited to do that. Excited to have you all here and to learn a little bit more about how things are going over there. And I know you're up in New York City. There's been a lot of eventful things happening up there. How's it been for you?
It's kind of hard to wrap into. Every time I get asked that question, it takes me a minute to kind of recap. Honestly, it feels like it's been 2020. Feels like it's been like 2 years, not 1. But I mean, COVID was one. Pivoting for a short time as a gap filler to produce PPE. That was a big one for us. Having 75% of our team work from home. That was another big one. Now we're raising capital. So that's another big one.
Yeah. And it's been going good. I know, it's good to see people still active during this time and things growing. Obviously, we have a wonderful community that, inside of manufacturing 3D printing that does have the ability to make things better and as we grow together. So it's good to see that people are still pushing forward, given all the challenge that we have right now.
It's been amazing to see the entire community come together in so many different ways. So it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I know, today being your birthday, it's Tuesday right now. And look, we talked about this is a birthday month for both of us. My birthday is next week. And actually this will be airing when it's my birthday. So it's a double-sided birthday celebration in a way right now.
Hey, fellow Libra.
Yeah. It's awesome. The Libras are in the house. That's really cool. I'm on the Libra Scorpio cusp. Yeah. Well, I guess that, we're talking about the women in 3D printing, and obviously you being on the board of directors, so many things leading up to the event coming in January, but there are so many things that the board does and women in 3D printing does. So I know you've already been doing a lot of podcast series yourself. So how's that been going for you?
It's been amazing. I mean, without networking in place, the being like a host for the Women in 3D Printing podcast has really allowed me to network in the ways that COVID kind of took all of that away. I'm used to doing my happy hours as a NYC ambassador, and that all just kind of went away. So the podcasting really gives me that one-on-one time, and I really get to learn about people in the industry that I haven't really crossed paths with yet. So it's amazing, and I'm just so inspired by everyone. Great.
Yeah, that's the really cool part, right? Is to hear all the stories. And of course, we have everyone's kind of in their own, little pod or alone in a lot of cases, so being able to see someone's face is very nice and connect. But then learning about what everybody's going through and how they're making things better and looking on improving things and just staying busy with educating themselves and everything. So there's a lot of good that's happening. But yeah, there's also a lot of struggles we're all going through to try to figure out what's next. So we'll see.
And, we're a service bureau. So a lot of our focus and where we network is really with different industries and different use cases and different partners and people that could become clients. But a lot of the women that I've interviewed are working behind the scenes and doing other things just to advance 3D printing, additive manufacturing in general. So it's been really exciting for me to see these developments that I otherwise wouldn't really see,
Yeah. Yeah, that is really cool. And I know there's a lot more to come. I mean, there's just so much happening right now. I think it's good. I was talking to Filipos not too long ago about what's going on with his event coming up next week. And there's just so much happening on everybody's side of the pond. You know, there's a lot going on. So it's good to see the international response also. You know, there's a lot of happening and bringing that community together that it wasn't so cohesive before. And I think there's been a lot more interaction, a lot more communication, and so we get to see a lot more things, you know, come from those kind of community partnerships. It's really great.
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. So as far as the conference goes, I know, you know, it's technology, industry, people, and economics. The economic side, that was something when I spoke with Nora that she brought up that would be a good track for you to talk about and to let us know a little bit more about, you know, the economics that goes into things that are happening with 3D printing, but also how that ties around the actual event coming up in January. So tell us a little bit more about that.
I'm so excited. I think, well, first of all, I think all the tracks are super relevant. I mean, this is an entire huge industry. The economics track really focuses on the economic and social impact of AM and on-demand manufacturing. I mean, it has really changed the game in terms of prototyping and manufacturing. It's the use cases for end use models are just growing and growing and growing. So the purpose of this is to highlight all of that and how we're really spanning and changing each of the industries that we've touched. And so I'm really excited to dive into that.
Yeah, it's going to be really neat. So these tracks have certain speakers that are speaking inside of those tracks, correct? Is that how it's set up? Or I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen, obviously, the whole agenda's not out. We're a little early here, but it's going to be, I'm assuming, something like that. All the economic track talks are going to be inside of that track, and there's going to be certain people that are addressing that. And so it should be really neat to see that unfold. And I know there's a lot of great women that are involved, obviously, in what's going on, a lot of amazing speakers so far. So it's wild because we're still a couple months away, right? And I'm sure there's going to be so much more that's going to be added to the agenda.
Yes, everything is moving very, very fast, and we're really bunkering down on all the planning now. We have a weekly call, and it's just really revving up, and we're really getting close to it. So it's really getting to the fun part of planning. Like we're all taking action now, and I think at first I think this is still being updated, but I think we're going to have between 40 and 100 speakers, which is
wow, that's amazing. That's really cool.
yes, very, very cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's coming up in January. We have both January 27th and 28th. So I'll definitely put a link to that in our conversation here today so people could check that out. But it's good to be a part of that as a media partner and to see things happen. I saw the website seems like it's evolving every time I look at it. There's something else on there, a lot going on. I just checked it today and it looked totally different. It looked like it was a brand new site. So good to see all that work happen and it coming together smoothly.
Yes, every weekly agenda is just jam-packed with a ton of new things that we're covering and really planning out and taking action on. It's been really fun, but every week is new. You're right.
Yeah, it is. So you're at Makelab there, and you've been there for how long now?
Makelab has been in existence since April of 2017, so that's exactly 3.5 years.
Wow. Yeah. And so you're the co-founder and CEO over there, and a lot of great things have been happening in those 3 years. I mean, what has that journey been like over that time for you?
It's been very interesting. I would use the word evolved very, very heavily. That's the common theme, right? We've kind of evolved as a business, ourselves with the leadership, how we operate, but then also the industry. That's evolved in the short time that we've been around as well. This company actually came out of an acquisition of a friend's company of a 3D printing service called 3D Uniprint. And Manny and I, my partner, my co-founder, we were freelancing and doing product development. And we were actually the top customer for this company. And then he asked us on a Sunday night to acquire it because he was. So that's how this all came about.
Just like that, yeah.
And before that, I mean, we sent stuff to Shapeways and 3D Hubs. We got our own 3D printer to try to like manage it more in-house. We just didn't have time to commit to learn. So then we found 3D Uniprint. So we really did explore all the different options as the client of how to get something 3D printed. But I hadn't really operated a machine until a week before the doors were open for us.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, because then we had to build operations out of that, and I was still very new.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to jump into. But obviously, with the background you've had in design and getting things there, I mean, that's the biggest part of the process is actually having the part that's going to print in the machine, and then you select the right technology for whatever you're working with, what industry and what particular application you have. But yeah, I mean, so what is in the facility as far as what type of machines do you have there?
We actually operate off of all desktops.
Okay.
For the client base that we service, which is a lot of product and industrial designers and engineers, we service a lot of the prototyping phase of the workflow. And we also do looks like models, so like visual models that really don't function, that need that like high quality surface finish. And then we also do like low volume production. So between what actually comes out of Makelab, we're able to do all this with desktop machines. So we have FDM desktops and we use Formlabs. And
Nice.
that's I would say 90%. We do work with partners to offer MJF, but those projects don't come around too much because it's not really within our brand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Formlabs, I know you're an ambassador for Formlabs, correct? I saw that on your LinkedIn page.
I am. I'm going to be speaking at the user summit, which is so fun. I could be wrong, but I believe it's in October or November.
Nice.
November. Yes.
Nice. All good. Yeah, I know that, everything that happened even prior to getting into what's going on at Makelab, your design. And one thing I saw on your LinkedIn profile that really stood out to me is Converse. So, I mean, how was that experience there?
I mean, that was a very entry-level position. I did work a small team in the accessories design department back when they had an office in New York. And so I started out as an intern there and then started working there full time right after I graduated. And so I was helping with designing bags and developing bags for different like channels. So some of my stuff came out in Target, and then other came out within each line of Converse. So they had like different, like they had the Jack Purcell line, they had like the All Stars, they had like different lines. So we would design accessories for that: socks, hats, bags, backpacks, duffels.
Fun. Yeah, my daughter that you just met, she's a designer in training. She's been doing a lot of, she always likes to draw, which was something I like to do too. So it's good to see her doing that. But she's been doing a lot of clothing, and she's been taking sewing classes for over a few years now, and she's beyond excellent. Yeah, she's really good at it. So it's good to see that kind of bloom inside of what she's doing and becoming a young designer.
Yeah. If they have internships, and their internship programs are really fun actually. So if you ever need a warm intro, I still know people there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Awesome. Now I know she looks a little bit older, but she's actually 11 going on 12. She's a tall one.
Wait, she's 11?
Yes, she is. Yeah. Yeah.
Good for her for pursuing like a hobby and really, making it something. I didn't have that.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, obviously things have changed with this year for her with schooling, and we decided to go the virtual schooling route. So she's actually behind a wall over here in her room most of the time doing virtual schooling, which is interesting. It's different right now. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's, that's been a curveball. There's a lot of kids on Manny's side of the family, and a lot of the kids in the family are under 8. And so I've just been talking to my in-laws about the perils of homeschooling and virtual schooling. It's been an adjustment for all the parents out there.
Yeah, I feel really, having a child that is in 6th grade. It's kind of I think a blessing because she's right in the middle. She's not a young kid that needs a lot of attention, and she's not in the social high school days yet, so she's not missing out at the just somewhere in the middle. And I think for virtual school this year, almost from the feedback I'm getting from people that are in school, it might be better just because there's so many processes that aren't in place and people just don't know what to do, and the teachers and everything. And so this year is a big learning year for even being in school. So I'm kind of happy that we're waiting at least till next year to do that.
For sure. I've got Manny and I, Manny's my fiance. We're not officially married, but he he has a 17-year-old daughter that's a senior in high school. So I also
Wow.
see the other end of the
Yeah.
bullying, and it's tough. And she is in that social stage, so it's been quite a
Big
battle.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hard balance. I have two nieces that just graduated, from high school coming into the pandemic, and they had to deal with not having their, end of the year, celebrations and going to prom and everything. So I was like, wow, that's really the worst for what's going on to miss out on all that. But now they're all off at college for the first year. There's just twins. So, yeah, that's got to be new. And I know, my sister was talking about dropping them all off at school and being like, I don't know what's going to happen, but at least there's somewhere, where they could do things with their close friends and kind of work it from there. But remains to be seen how all that plays out right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess, back to everything that's been going on with women in 3D printing too. I know that, you've been a large part, I've seen, of the live shows even before all this went virtual. And I think the speaking series have been excellent to see, all the different people that have been involved in that and all the different things that have been going on. So it's almost like you were, that whole program was almost set up to go virtual, because obviously now with all the panels and everything going virtual, you still get that information. So I'm really happy when I see all those events, and it's fun to attend those.
Yeah, it was so fun. I had, right when quarantine hit, I had this amazing next event set up to interview actually Kristen about marketing and really dive into the economic side of 3D printing and additive manufacturing. And it was supposed to be set in this beautiful stadium that I had booked at FIT.
Oh, wow.
So it was coming together, and then COVID hit, but I'm glad I could, like you said, get some of that back with the podcast hosting.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I saw a few of those podcasts, and there's a lot of great women in there, obviously, and amazing stories. Like we said, it's just so nice to hear the background of where people are, where they're coming from, and what passions they have that brought them into the industry,
Well, one of the questions in the podcast, we do kind of like a Spitfire style. So we ask the same questions for everyone and kind of expand on the results as conversation develops. But
Sure.
one interesting thing was like, what are you looking forward to seeing in AM development? And then, interestingly enough, not all of them went live that I did, but almost every single woman that I interviewed said the same thing. And it all revolved around standards of the industry
Big
and,
time.
unquote, making the industry boring so that we can really, propel it forward and really, really sell it, really, really work on the business side of it and to expand it even more. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, and I hear that in a lot of my conversations too. Obviously, it's very difficult, especially with the way traditional manufacturing is. You actually have a machine that does one process, or it does a certain process for a certain industry, and that's what they buy it for. It does that process. I think the little thing with 3D printers that is a value, but also a deterrent, is you could do a lot. You could put multiple applications in the machine, and there's all these questions about, okay, well, what's the process that I want to buy it for, and where is all the standards that go along with that process inside of 3D printing? And it's still being worked out. We're still in its infancy, so that there's a lot to be established there, but it's slowly happening. I think the last 5 years have actually picked up speed with that happening, but it should roll out here pretty soon in a little more of a tight fashion, I think.
That's exactly what we encounter on a day-to-day basis with our customers. We get so many people that know, that have a 3D model ready, and they just have questions about, okay, what do I expect and what material should I print in, and what's the process, and all these specific questions about materials. So a lot of like our service, like at Makelab, a lot of like our service is really tailored around those technical questions and helping someone to visualize their project, and then knowing what to expect. Like, when am I going to get it back? Like something as simple as that is actually hard. Like I would say is a little difficult to come by and get a straight answer from a lot of service bureaus,
It is. And I think that's what you're talking about too, as far as having that experience and have the people that can address what's going on in the application. I think the support side of it's so huge. And everyone that I look at as a company, that's the first thing I think of, is what's the support network, or, ecosystem is a real big word right now. But when it comes to 3D printing, it's all of that. It's all, how do you support what's happening? What happens once it comes out the machine? What are you doing when we need more of these? All these things need to be addressed, by a company, by a certain process. And it's good to see those things happening, but it's a constant question on standards, procedures. How do I go about doing this? Like you're saying, what's the right material that's going to work for this? And that design part of it is huge. We talk about DFAM, design for additive manufacturing, 3D printing. It's all, looking at, hey, you're not building this, people will come to you with a cup or something and say 3D print this. It's like, why? Yeah. So you have to be able to figure out why with somebody and be able to show the value of 3D printing and building layer by layer and looking what sort of benefits you can get out of doing that. And a lot of the big companies are able to show that. And I see a lot of the small companies being nimble enough to kind of work with people on new designs, but then that form and function and cost all have to meet in the same spot. And, you got to go from there. So it's a lot. It's a lot. That's for sure.
It's a lot of like tying all these different things together and marrying them all into one successful project. And really, the way I like to speak both internally and externally is because we've really, I don't want to use the word limited because that has a negative connotation, but we offer two types of machines. We offer many different materials, but we buy into two manufacturers' ecosystems, and that's it. And because of that, our job is now, and because we were able to master those things, our job is actually mostly logistics. It's how do we handle different situations? How do we handle a failure? How do we build that into the timeline? How do we chart? It's marrying all the logistics and the back end operations together. It's all about process, really.
Yeah. And again, there's no standard way of doing that right now because there's so many different things going on. So,
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know. I mean, that's it's got to be a challenge, especially with everything going on. And have you seen, aside from the normal like the PPE projects and things like that, have you seen like anything start to pick up as far as work is like common work that is concerned for 3D printing?
Yeah. So things are. We're still feeling it out. I feel like it's really a little too early to say how COVID impacted the trends, especially with these massive layoffs and a lot of them being like designers and engineers who are our clients. So what I predict and what I've kind of been seeing, and I'm not ready to confirm it yet, but I've seen a general delay. So busy months that happened in May actually happened in August. So the calendar is kind of delayed a little bit. And because we work with so many different industries, each of those industries have different like spike periods, for example. So like entertainment, marketing, and advertising all have a different calendar than the product design and developers. So, but generally it all fits into like the year, and we have the data and we have a sense for, what that calendar looks like, but it's all been kind of pushed, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. And it makes sense though. I mean, that there's a lot of different, a lot of different attributes that make something up, and to deal with all those through this timeline, it's got to be fun. Oh man.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So any events coming up for Makelab?
Man, we're so focused on raising capital right now that it's like a second full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
I always say that, and I finally truly understand what people mean by when they say that. But aside from internal stuff, we haven't really had the time to dedicate to like virtual events. And myself as an NYC ambassador as well, I just haven't had that much time to do it.
Makes sense. That's a big part when you're raising money for a company. I mean, that's in that post startup phase, it's still part of the startup, right? And so talk about that process. Like how long has that been going, and what stages have you been at, and where are you at now?
We're still so early. We did a lot of prep work. COVID kind of threw a wrench in a lot. We were supposed to start pitching, I think, in March, but that got delayed up until I think mid-September. So we're just a month into pitching.
Okay.
Developing. We have some bites. We have some leads, which is fun. But it's been quite interesting. I think the biggest takeaway is that there are different sides of your business that you talk about. So to the customer, when you're pitching a customer and you're trying to get them onboarded and you're trying to like get their buy-in, you speak a different story than you would to say like the investor story. Like, so a lot of our work, and I feel like we finally got it, and we finally got the investor speak in the VC language and lingo. it was just finding that VC story in Makelab, which was a process, because service is tough. A lot of VC firms, they are geared towards like B2B SaaS and not so much hardware. And then you add the layer of service on top of it. It's, it puts you at a little bit more of a disadvantage. It's not as easy and light as a SaaS company. So it's been interesting.
Yeah, so the VC obviously is venture capitalists, but so you're saying for the service side, that's harder to represent to a venture capitalist than of course a tangible machine or solution, or like you're saying, even a SaaS program, a software as a service. The service of the company, the way you service your clients. So yeah, I'm trying to understand why that would be hard to represent, because there has to be some sort of obviously your product is your service. So then what you're doing as a contract manufacturer or designer, or actually helping a customer get through their product life cycle, that's the service you're talking about?
Yeah, it's like the needing a tech to run the machines, for example, being like a shop. That aspect at first was really difficult to convey and tell the story of how that can really scale at a VC, in a VC style growth hockey stick.
Yeah. Something that could be seen and yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, it's very possible. I feel like we finally really got it. So that's good. But in the beginning, that was along the lines of the feedback, because it's regarded as quote unquote like heavy or heavier software. You just need developers and sales and marketing, know, but we need developers, sales, marketing, and daily ops. So
still at the same time, it is a tangible solution. And obviously in the 3D printing industry, that service is of value. So I'm sure you're finding a way to show that value for the VCs out there.
Yeah, it all centers around adoption rate. I mean, we've already without any outbound sales and really not even overspending of ad dollars, we've had a lot of traction, and there's a reason for that. So I think that's what we can capitalize. There is a market. We hit so many different industries. It's really like endless possibilities. You just need the right team and the right operations to do it and make it as lean as possible.
Yeah, big thing. And there's the right team, right? It's hard to do anything alone. And so to have the right people and to have that right trust and, work ethic together where you all have the same goal, those type of cultures and environments are very, very valuable, and obviously also can be very fragile at times, depending upon changes in the way people roll with changes, especially in the times we're having. I mean, you hear the word nimble thrown around a lot, but what that comes down to is cohesive. Are you working together? Are you able to communicate? Is everybody, has the same goal in mind and are able to change and focus on what is more important right now? So it's not easy.
That's when just like operating a business, that needs to be on point, because that contributes to your culture and that contributes to each individual team member's buy-in. Like you need your team to believe in the vision and really buy into the vision, so that they can make decisions, micro decisions on a daily basis to achieve that goal. Yeah. And that's the hard part that no one teaches you in any type of schooling.
No, and it's the hated learning from failure. Nobody likes that, but that's the big part of it. You got to go, well, that didn't work. I guess I'll try it a different way. Go talk to more people. Somebody help.
Yeah, and I forgot what it was, either a TV show or movie, and they alluded to that scenario perfectly. They use the metaphor of like, there is no boat coming to save you. It's all on you, That's
the biggest part of it.
That is. And it's daunting at first. I feel like I definitely flubbed that in the beginning, but eventually found my footing, as any founder will say.
Sure. And I mean, that is part of it, right? Putting yourself out there, finding out when you're wrong and how to correct it, how to get help, where to go next, what didn't work, get the feedback, take it from there. Well, no, I mean, I think all that stuff is amazing that you're actually going through it all, and it's something to be proud of. I mean, there's a lot of hard work that goes into getting those things going, especially when you're working on raising those funds, convincing the right partners to come along for the ride.
Yep.
Yeah.
The way we see it is like, if you can do it with team, you just have to shift your mindset slightly, but you could do it. If you can do it with people, you can do it with other people. It's repeatable.
No, that is good stuff. I mean, that hints on what we're talking about with, community and industry and how we all partner up to make things happen. But you are right. It comes down to the individual and what you're doing every day. I look at it this way, someone asked me, what they always say, what's your 5-year plan? And I think, I do have a 5-year plan, but my biggest plan is just to improve myself daily. And that in itself, sometimes I take a couple steps back because things don't go right, and I have to learn from that and then move forward. And as long as I'm doing that, that 5-year plan stays okay. But if you're not working on those things by not doing some things right and finding out, I should go about that a different way, you got to fail to succeed. And a lot of people just want to get to the success part without actually getting burnt a little bit, but it's all part of the process.
It is. And you know what? Actually, Women in 3D Printing, just being an NYC ambassador and like really forcing myself to go to these networking events and host them ultimately, and really try to get to know everyone as part of my responsibilities as a host, is part of like what has really helped Makelab get to the point where we're at. It's all about the community. We've always been about community, and Women in 3D Printing really just enabled that community on a level that I probably would not have been able to achieve if not for my role in the organization. And I've heard other like repeat attendees to the happy hours and events that I've put on like say the same thing. And it's just like amazing. Like I'm so forever grateful.
I think that's important, is to recognize that too. And that what's makes you such a valuable asset is you're humble enough to know that it is the community, that it is coming together to help things happen. And then also to be able to be a contributor inside there and not let that just be, okay, well, this has been working. Let's just keep going. No, you got to find a way where your talents can also bring, help to other people. I've been trying to do my best to do that too. I work with a lot of startups and, a lot of people out there that are trying to get the VC going. And, there's a lot that goes into that. And that's been a learning curve for me because I've never been on that side of it. I've been, the 50th person or so at a company, it's a little bit past the full startup side, but at the same time, at this stage in life, I find myself helping a lot of startups out there. So I'm grateful to do that. Maybe someday I'll get paid for it, but I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, even just these conversations that you have and PR opportunities where you have a moment to reflect. I've always been such a big like supporter of that because as a founder, you move so fast. Sometimes the only time to really connect those dots in your history and how you got there is during these conversations. It forces you to take a pause for a moment, even if it's just for an hour. But it is so incredibly helpful. And yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, no, you're absolutely right. So one thing that I'm curious about, we're talking about all these challenges. So what do you do for fun? I mean, what are some of your hobbies, Christina? Come on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. This year that all went out the door because I loved, like I would sometimes work out twice a day
Sure.
back before COVID. And I just loved my gym. I plan on going back, but I loved the convenience of it. It was like a 15-minute walk from work. So I'd like go to the gym in the morning with Manny and we'd see our friends. I'd get ready there, come back to work, and then maybe even go back for a second workout. It was like a boutique fitness gym called F45.
Nice.
And so, I try to also like go out, on weekends. It doesn't happen as much. Like I used to go out on weekdays too, like catch up with work friends or industry friends over happy hour or whatnot, but it's harder to come by, but I try to make time.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, with the current climate out there, everyone is finding those ways to get around that or to do different things. I live in Austin, Texas. And so that nightlife and the ability to go out and see live music and that type of thing is very muted right now, obviously, and that was a big part of my fun here. Is trying to keep it, local between a few of my friends and enjoying music. But I just want to go out to a club soon and see live. It's not happening anytime soon, but
Manny and I, we just got these like little electric scooters.
Nice.
So we, on the weekends, especially when it was nicer and not as cold out, we would just scoot around town and to different different neighborhoods in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
And we found this one, it was like a smorgasbord type of thing. And they had a band and we just like sat and ate our food and listened to this band. And it felt normal for a minute, you know?
Yes. Yeah. No, that felt normal for a minute. It's amazing when I get into those moments where all of a sudden I'll snap back and go, oh yeah, it's not the same, but I'm glad for a minute there, it felt like it was normal.
Trick my brain for a minute.
Yeah. It's wild to see as this progresses, as these things go on. I guess we're also up against a big election coming up, a lot of things, the cold weather, this is going to be a very time telling, little time that we go through here over the holidays. And it's been a wild year. I can't believe 2020, who would have thought, it's just, it's a lot. Yeah.
Song that perfectly captures 2020. It's called F 2020. It's by this small band in Nashville, all women, and the lyrics just kind of like really hit you hard,
I've heard a few things with F 2022. I don't know if it's the same thing, but I think that's a common theme with everybody. But I'll check it out. I'll have to definitely check it out.
So it's a song where you just feel heard,
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. That's the big thing is the connections out there. And, I feel very fortunate and lucky to be in the industry I am because, connections like yourself and be able to talk to people and connect and see how they're doing and see what's going on with pushing manufacturing forward. I mean, that's a blessing right now. And I'm so happy that we have a community that is centered around positivity and growth. So just try to bolster that up and do as much as I can. That's why I'm so grateful to do podcasts like this. This is nice,
It's so nice. I feel the same exact way when I host as well.
Yeah. Well, it's been good to have you here. I know, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we get going?
No, other than can't wait to see you at the TIPE conference. I will be moderating the networking thing. So I'll be popping in and out of tables and rooms.
Yeah.
Sparking conversation. So I'm excited to do that.
Yeah, it is exciting. And I'm excited. It's going to be the first media table I have there as being a media partner. So you have to pop by the all digital additive manufacturing table also and have a little chat over there, but it'll be fun. Well, awesome. I'll put a lot of links into everything that's going on with the TIPE conference and everything that's happening with you over at Makelab and look forward to seeing so much more. And we'll definitely stay in touch and what's building up into that TIPE 2021 conference that's going to be going on January 27th and 28th. So looking forward to that. Christina, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. This was a blast.
Yes, and happy birthday.
Thanks. I'm nearing the age where it's not fun anymore.
Oh, come on now. All right. Well, you have a good one. We'll talk to you soon.